All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to our second webinar of our IBM Security Benelux user group. And this time we're going to talk about workforce management, workforce identity and access management. And we're going to more specifically use our SaaS solution for that. Next to me is sitting my colleague Yves, who will also play a role in this webinar. Yves, can you present yourself?
Yes, Peter. We are here with our second live show. We guarantee that everything worked before, so if it doesn't work today, well, we'll try to fix it, and hopefully the demo gods are with us. That's also challenging with live sessions, right?
Yes, that's right. So that's also the spirit of the user group. It's all live and it's all demos, and it's not different this time. In fact, I've prepared a very small agenda. Maybe I can start showing that now. My presentation. Can you share my screen then? There we go.
Yeah.
So agenda is pretty simple, in fact. So first, a small reminder, this is about workforce identities. So that's your employees, your consultants doing work for your enterprise. We're going to have 4 major use cases here, and they're on the slide there. It's onboarding a new employee. Then it's for that same employee asking for a specific business application. In our demo, that is Salesforce. Next, we're going to introduce some multi-factor authentication. And then finally, Yves will play the role of a developer who is in need of identity authentication for his application, and he's going to show you how that works. So that's quite some stuff. But let's start with a short overview of Verify SaaS. So what is Verify SaaS? As I said, it's our SaaS solution. It's a comprehensive identity and access management solution. So it includes both access management stuff like single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, context-based access, and so on. But next to that, it also includes identity governance and administration, also known as lifecycle management. And by doing so, in fact, it can cover both needs, both the user provisioning, creating, deleting, managing accounts, and giving access using single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, and so on. And it's doing that for 2 populations, let's say, and 2 distinct use cases: workforce identities to manage your employees, and on the other hand, consumer identity, not the topic of today, but surely the topic of some next webinar where we can show what Verify SaaS can do for you in that space. So let's go ahead with the first scenario. And the first scenario, let me shortly explain you what we're going to do there. So we're introducing, there's a new employee, and let's name it, well, in the spirit of the winter, last name Snow, for example, and then first name Jenny, whatever. A brand new employee, we're going to introduce this employee, create it in an Active Directory, and then using our software, she's going to get into the Verify SaaS, where her account will be created. And from that point on, you can have other access to applications and so on. So that's what we've set up, and then I'm going to show you this right now. And for that, I of course have to go to my Active Directory. So, all right, what do we have here? We have the Active Directory users and computers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new user. Jenny, and then last name Snow. Need to fill in some other stuff here, the user login name. I need to choose a password, of course, for the aim of the objective of the demo. I'm going to keep it simple and have a password that will never expire. Voila, this is now, this new account is created, and let's complete some of the attributes here. Like, for example, the email address, and for that I need a little trick because I had some troubles with the ampersand. There we go. And as a domain name, I'm using mailinator.com here because that's convenient. It's a free service typically used for lab environments, so we can actually send stuff to an email address and then simply look at it for the number of accounts that we want. So I've put an email. Let's also put in a mobile number, something like 112233. And some other stuff here like department HR. Let me see if I've not forgotten anything here. Mobile department, no, that's okay. So apply. So what we just did, we created a user in Active Directory. It's a common thing to do, typically also as a start of a whole identity governance and administration flow, let's say, where for some means, by some means, users get into the Active Directory and are then further on used for provisioning. So this time we're going to do this towards the Verify SaaS application. So what I'm going to do right now is that I will log in. Okay. I will log in to the console as an administrator. And so now we're actually on the SaaS, in fact, as an administrator. There are a couple of options here. We are going to look at the users and groups and see if all worked well, and look for a user with the family name of Snow. So there we go. There's a user created in the Verify SaaS solution, Jenny Snow, and she has a number of attributes, of course, and these are copied from the Active Directory. Of course, we have the basic things like first name, last name, and stuff. She also gets a specific user ID within the solution. We've copied her specific Active Directory object GUID for the techies amongst us, and we've copied that here to the external ID. We copied the mobile number,
and the department.
Department is also there.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got everything there. So that's in fact more or less, let's say, phase one. Yeah.
So what if you change the department now in Active Directory? Does it get populated directly onto this cloud directory?
Yeah, so the question of Eve is what happens if something changes now in the Active Directory after the creation? Will it be propagated towards the cloud solution? The answer is yes, so that's good.
I hope so, yeah.
And I'll show you how this works. So I'm still here in the properties windows of this person. Let's change it to something like marketing, for example. Apply, maybe let's also change the telephone number. Instead of 1233, it's 44 this time. So if we apply that, what happens is that software running, Verify software, in fact, running on the Active Directory or next to the Active Directory is going to propagate that via APIs, in fact, to the cloud. And this then results in an update of the user, as you can see right now. So if I do a refresh here, you will see that the mobile number has changed.
Okay. And the department.
And the
should
department
be
number should also have
as
been
marketing.
changed.
Wow,
Yes,
great.
as marketing.
So that's quite quick, but you can schedule that or. How would
Yeah,
you-
indeed. So for demo purposes, I've set this to a very reasonable. I think it's 5 seconds or something.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's pretty fast. Another thing, of course, in reality, if you start doing this, you can also kick off with, for example, if you kick off the first time that it runs, it will propagate, in fact, all of your users, and that can take a while. So,
Yeah.
of course, we're in a demo here, so that's why I now every 5 seconds is going to look if something has changed.
What if the employee leaves the company? You would typically disable the account on the Active Directory. Does that also work?
So what you're asking right now is just enter the company, and now I have to disable or delete her.
Maybe she did something very
Very
unforgivable.
fishy. Yeah, we're in cybersecurity. You're right. Let me show you that. What happens then? It's very similar, in fact. So what I will do is I will go to Active Directory again, and there are two things you can do here. There's one thing I'm not going to do is to delete it, because if I delete it, it will also be deleted in the cloud directory, which is an option, by the way. So it's
Yeah.
it's something you can.
But we still need Jenny Snow for our scenarios, right?
Yeah, yeah, indeed. So let's not ruin everything right now in the beginning. So what I will do is I will disable account. This is something I can do, because if I disable, I can also enable afterwards. So Jenny is disabled now, and as a consequence, if we now look up the account for Jenny, we will see that the enabled flag over here is crossed. So this, of course, has some major advantages. That this means that if something happens, like Jenny did something wrong, it's enough to shut down everything. In fact, if you shut down her Active Directory, it will also shut down all the things she could do in the Verify SaaS, and her access to all the applications that were integrated is also shut off in just one click. So
Yeah,
it's nicely
that's nice, yeah.
propagated. All right. Okay, but that of course that's not all that we wanted to show.
But maybe enable it again, because we still need it, right?
That's a good remark. Yeah, good remark. I will enable it again, of course, via the same way. Enable account. There we go. And we will surely see this update right away here. Okay, it's enabled. So she has two things now. She has a user in the cloud directory, in the Verify SaaS. She also has an Active Directory. So let's now use this newly created account in the cloud directory to do a first login, and to show that she can also actually log in with her password of the Active Directory.
Yeah, that's nice.
Something that's also of importance, of course, and convenient for the user. Let's say she doesn't have to remember two sets of passwords here. So what I'm doing here in my other browser is I'm logging in as a user in the user interface of the Verify SaaS solution. I have a choice here on how to log in. I will log in with this option, namely against the Windows server. I will use her email address, jenny.snow@mailinator.com. Provide the password.
The password from Active Directory. Yeah.
That's the password from indeed Active Directory, and sign in. I will save it for now so that I don't have to type it again. So, okay, so the user Jenny is now logged in, and the home page is in fact a list of applications that she can start to access. So these are applications that are integrated,
It's sort of an app store.
sort of an app center, app dashboard, in fact, with some advantages, like for example, you know what you can already access. So if you're looking for example, an application to say, let's say, a marketing or I don't know, webinar software or something, which is integrated with the application, you can easily look here in the catalog of things that are already available for you. All right, so these are the apps that she can now see. What's next? Well, I think
You have an overview how this actually works with components that you need?
yeah. Let's do that. You're right. I had a slide for that. So let's close this one and go to my presentation again to shortly explain what was going on here. So on the one hand, we have the Windows server with an Active Directory. And in fact, we have two components here of the Verify software installed here. These are so-called bridge components. These are also called on-prem components, because this is software that you need to install on your premises in your data center. So we have these two services. Let's start with the service which is called Verify Bridge, and which is effectively connecting to the Active Directory using the LDAP protocol. And by this way, it can provide authentication. It can also read other attributes, of course, other than the password from the Active Directory. And so when a user logs on, she will
Authenticate against,
she will authenticate
yeah.
against the Active Directory. Thank you. And also during the authentication, some attributes can be in fact read, like things like department and so on, and can then also be used for what we call just-in-time provisioning. And this is something, in fact, that we've configured in parallel with the synchronization. So this means that whenever this person logs in via the Active Directory credentials, her attributes will also be kept up to date in the cloud directory. Okay.
But you don't need those two bridges in every scenario. You could do with just the authentication bridge, for example.
Yeah, yes, indeed, yes, indeed. So in some scenarios, you just need the authentication bridge because you don't want synchronization with the cloud directory. So that means that you can simply use the Active Directory as the registry where users need to authenticate. But of course, big advantage that they don't have to remember another password, that they can use their known passwords for that.
Mm.
But here in this use case, and for the purpose of the demo, we've also configured this one. It's also an on-prem component. And this is doing the synchronization. So it's a synchronization between the Active Directory. So what happens in the Active Directory, like creation, deletion, disabling, modification of attributes. It's detecting this change. So the Active Directory is configured for them. That's a default or a typical Active Directory configuration. And every change is in fact reported to this software, and then this software will push that to the cloud directory. And that's it. That's what happened when I showed when you change the department of the user over here and over there in Active Directory, it will be propagated to the cloud directory.
It happens directly. If you wouldn't have that, it would only get propagated at the moment when she logs in again.
Yeah, that's correct. So if you only use the Verify Bridge for authentication, so this one, then these things only happen when you authenticate against the Active Directory. And that's in most cases not okay, because the cloud directory will also be used for other applications where you which you have integrated, like Salesforce, Box.com, Office 365 maybe a bad example because it's also a Windows thing. But other applications will then not profit from these things. Similarly, when you do user account provisioning, like real identity governance and administration, you need things like group membership, department, is this man or woman, is that a manager, and so on. So you want these things distributed, in fact, directly to your cloud directory.
Okay. And this software, these bridges, they come for free, or?
Yeah, for free is of course let's say a
An
heavy word.
understatement. Okay.
You can download them for free, but of course it doesn't have much. It doesn't make a lot of sense if you don't have the actual Verify software.
To link to,
Yeah. So,
Makes sense.
but indeed, this software is for free, so it's a part you can download and start playing with. Certainly in combination with the trial. So further on in the presentation, I will talk you
Yeah.
about. I will talk about the trial. You can have a 90-day trial, in fact, for Verify, which is handy if you want to do some testing on your own. Okay. So.
Jenny's back in business.
Jenny's back in business.
Yeah.
Next is, we're in next scenario, in fact. And Jenny Snow now needs to have access to an application that we've integrated with Verify. And that's the Salesforce application. So to do her job, her day-to-day job, we've decided that Jenny Snow needs Salesforce, and for that, of course, she's going to need to take a look at the application that she already has, see that it's not there, and then ask for permission to have access to Salesforce. So, what I'll do next is I log in as Jenny Snow.
With the Win server? No?
Yeah, not with the cloud directory, but with the Win server, indeed. All right. And as I said in the beginning, so see, the home page is in fact the applications that she can already access. Salesforce.com is not part of that, so she's going to request for the Salesforce application. So
Okay.
how does she do that? She types on, okay, I'm looking for Salesforce apps. Okay, here we have the Salesforce app, and she can ask to have access to that application. She typed apps. See, she needs to give a justification. No, I'll keep it simple. I have a sales role now, for example. There you go. So she has now asked request. Of course, sometimes it's not clear where the request is pending. So if I look at the pending requests, I will see there's a pending request for my application Salesforce, and I can also show where it's blocking or who needs to approve. And that's a person called Jacob Jackson in our...
That's not her manager, that's the application owner, or?
Yes, indeed. So the configuration is as such that we've chosen as the approver the application owner, not the manager.
Yeah.
The manager is also possible, or even a combination of the two, manager and application owner. But for the sake of the demo, we kept it simple, and we said, okay, it's the application owner who needs to approve. So what's next? The approval itself, of course. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play the role. I'm going to play the role of the application owner. The application owner is Jacob. This time I have to choose Cloud Directory because it was there for a long time and it's configured like this. So I'm now logging in as Jacob. In fact, what I'm not showing here is that Jacob already received the mail about this, so you need to approve, blah, blah, blah. But I'm now logging in directly into the user interface. You can see there's something pending.
There's a notification.
There's a notification here on the little bell. In the task manager, it will also be clear that Jenny Snow is asking access to Salesforce. So if I click on that, I can see some things. I can also look at, for example, the current entitlement, which application does she already has. I can request for additional details. And for the sake of the demo, I'm not going to reject, I'm going to approve it.
That's a good idea. Unless you want to stop the scenario here.
No. Let's not stop. Let's keep going. Okay. My job as the approver is done. I'll sign out and I'll now sign in as Jenny Snow again. Jenny Snow at millionator.com. I'm signing in. So my request is now approved and I should see Salesforce applications over here. So this is giving me access to Salesforce. Now behind the scenes, what I've done in the environment, I've created a configuration, a single sign-on configuration for Salesforce, for a Salesforce single sign-on. And that way, whenever my employees go to Salesforce, they will be redirected to the Verify SaaS. They will authenticate over there using whatever I configured, like username password or username password plus multi-factor authentication. And then they will be redirected to Salesforce again, where they will enter. So in, let's say, a regular or a typical setup, what you need to do is you need also to provide the user account in Salesforce, because the user account in Salesforce is not yet there. I haven't created this beforehand. Now the nice thing is that some of these applications, these SaaS applications or other applications, they provide what is called just-in-time provisioning. So this means that when the user logs in for the first time, she will be automatically created at the application. So when I'm going to launch this, she's going to get to Salesforce. You won't see all the redirections, of course. The user experience is not so complicated as my explanation. But you will see that the Salesforce account, I will show that later on, is also created automatically. And that's just-in-time provisioning, a very nice feature because it does a lot of things automatically. It creates the accounts and also according to the attributes that Jenny already has, mobile number, department, and so on. So I guess you can't wait to see this.
I was about to say that, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so if I now do this, you can see this happening and voila, I'm now in Salesforce. An account has been created over there and attributes have been copied. So as a sort of a proof, you're seeing that this newly created account, Jenny Snow, is now there. If I look at her settings, which is more or less the same,
including her mobile phone number, department, attributes.
Yeah. I copied a few of this, and amongst other, the ones that we use in the demo. So the mobile number, you can see the mobile number here. You can see the department here, and so if you do this right, you can copy. Yeah, you can in fact create an account, which is a perfect, let's say, start for a Salesforce account. You don't have to bother about emails or processes and stuff. It's just happening automatically, and also one by one. It's happening just in time. So only at the moment that the user actually needs it and has first access in Salesforce.
If you would change the phone number now in Active Directory, when will it get synced to Salesforce?
Yeah, that's a good question. For the sync with Active Directory and Cloud Directory, you have this directory sync going on, and it's happening
Every 4 seconds.
every 4 seconds or 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, not with Salesforce. So I don't have actual something that's syncing this data to Salesforce. But what I have is this just-in-time provisioning. So this means when I log out here, then I change the number, or I change the number first in Active Directory, it will be propagated over here.
As soon as she logs in again. Yeah.
As soon as she logs in again. So let me show you, because you're looking a little bit glazy like that.
No, it's okay. Okay, I trust you.
So, okay, what we're going to do here is,
And also, if you disable the account in Active Directory, it should get disabled in the Cloud Directory, and then she doesn't have any access anymore to Salesforce.
correct. And that's because of the single sign-on, of course. So I've configured Salesforce as such that you cannot log in via login form at Salesforce. You must use single sign-on. So you'll be directed to our Verify SaaS solution, where the user will be disabled and so cannot log on. So it's all shut down. In fact, all access is then shut down.
Yeah.
So if I go to Salesforce, what do you want me to change? Telephone
Well,
number?
she's not in the marketing department because she's in sales now, you said.
Sales, it will be then. Sales. So what happened here now is, thanks to the synchronization, it will also be reflected in the cloud directory. And when I do this, let me log out a few times here. I need to log out, of course, here. Let me now log in again as Jenny. And do the same thing. So go to Salesforce. And what's happening now is, because it's also just-in-time provisioning, you should see that in the settings it will be changed to a department of sales.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Great.
So, all right. I guess that kind of concludes our Salesforce story and how these things can work. And I hope to convince you how fast and how easy it is to do these things, in fact, with a SaaS solution.
That's quite impressive. Yeah.
Next is
You were going to talk about multi-factor authentication? Is that
correct,
right?
correct, correct. Because what we've did so far is that we allowed, in fact, Jenny Snow to use her Windows password to access to Salesforce, which is kind of light, let's say. So in the world of cybersecurity, it's better to use some means of multi-factor authentication. And for the demo, I'm going to show you how this is done, in fact. So let's go ahead with that story. Let me log out here. And also log out there. So next is, I'm an administrator, and I now need to make sure that everyone who accesses Salesforce does some form of multi-factor authentication. So therefore, we can, as an administrator, we can go to the administrative console and configure an what we call an access policy. So this policy will determine, in fact, how you go to applications, how you authenticate. For the sake of time, I've already configured one. I'm in the administrative console here. I'm going to access policies. And what I've configured here is an access policy, which is called Business Critical Apps. Let us take a look at that. So if administrators, they can write up their own access policy, as I did here. You can give it a name. You can even use the more fancy, sophisticated stuff, namely our integration with IBM Trusteer, where we use adaptive access, where we're going to look at the whole context. It's a very cybersecurity fancy thing, in fact, where we look at the entire context, like, for example, passive or even active behavior of the user. Is this a new device, yes or no? Is this access coming from, for example, a known IP address, malware IP address? Is the user using a browser which is a bit strange because, for example, it has a weird version or something? All of these things can be done by adaptive access. You can also configure re-authentication and so on. I kept it simple here, and finally my rule is the following. So always require multi-factor authentication with selective methods. So what is meant by selective methods? So when you define this policy, you can say, first off, you can say when do you want to apply it and how does it fit into your series of rules. In this case, I just say multi-factor authentication always, meaning that whenever she logs in, she needs to provide multi-factor authentication. Then there's a choice between the methods that you're going to use. So
No, see, there's a lot of possibilities you have over there, also like the tokens with FIDO too.
yeah, correct. So within the Verify SaaS solution, we have the broadest range of multi-factor authentication methods, and these include the hot, let's say, FIDO2 passkeys, FIDO2 security keys. We also provide the regular things like time-based OTP, known by the regular people, let's say, Google Authenticator, right? Email OTP, where we send the code via email. We can also send a call via to your mobile. But then, of course, the most fanciest is to use a mobile authenticator.
That's why we have our own IBM Verify app, right?
That's something that comes with the product that's been in use for many years now, and we also use this within IBM and so on. It's a very nice application, easy to configure. In fact, I will show it, in fact, because we are starting from a new user. I have to register this application.
Okay.
So this is what I want. I want business critical apps access policy, meaning you can choose between time-based OTP or the Verify app. All right. Of course, this is the configuration. You still need to configure Salesforce for such policy, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to the configuration of my Salesforce. This is by the way also where I configured things like my single sign-on, which I'm not going to explain because it's a thing on its own, of course. But if I look into the single sign-on tab, and if you follow along a little bit with me, you can see all these fancy, pretty complicated
That's why you put the link also to the actual environment of your Salesforce. Right?
Yeah, indeed. And you can also see you can determine which attributes you're going to communicate, let's say, with the Salesforce application. So you can see this happening here. Thing now is what I wanted to show here is instead of using the default policy, which is pretty simple, which is username, password, I'm going to select my policy that I just discussed, which is business critical apps. So that's what I'll do right now. That's all that's needed, I guess, to make this work, except for, of course, I still need Jenny Snow to have the authenticator in the first place. And secondly, of course, register to this kind of multi-factor authentication. That's what I'm going to do right now. All right, all set, except for Jenny Snow still has to register. So how does that work? Well, Jenny Snow does a self-registration of this authenticator, signs in the solution. Then she says, or she clicks that she wants to change her two-factor authentication methods. Of course, before changing that, you first need to make sure that you do a multi-factor authentication, otherwise it wouldn't be very safe. And since we only have her mobile number and her email address, yeah, we need to pick up that code somewhere, and that's where the mailinator.com
The
comes
mobile will not work probably.
No, since I didn't take my own one, so okay. I'm a bit surprised.
You didn't send the code, right?
I didn't send the code
I
yet.
don't think so. No.
Oh my God. Thank you, Yves. I was already a bit worried here. Okay, the one-time code has arrived. Pick up this code and pass it over here. And now I can actually add other multi-factor authentication methods. So what I will do is I will add a new method here, and I will add the IBM Security Verify app, which is an app which is installed on your mobile and your smartphone. I've already installed it, but I'm going to add Jenny Snow as an account on that same application.
Okay.
For that, I'm going to do a little thing here, namely I'm going to share my screen over here, the screen of my iPhone.
Wow, nice.
Make it a even more nicer, like this. Okay. So here I am. This is my iPhone. I'll put it here, make it a little bit smaller maybe, so you can follow along on what's happening here. Okay. Next, so I'm Jenny here, and I'm going to add this device. She's getting a little bit of an explanation. Download the app. This has already been done. Connect to your account. She needs to scan a code. So I'm opening something you can see right here, the IBM Verify app. Opening it here. Scanning the code. Typing this button. I confirm that I'm going to use Face ID. And I'm done. It's sending a confirmation to make sure that all is good. And there I go. That's all I needed to do. I can now use this authenticator for authentication.
So now you link the Verify app on your mobile with your account from Verify SaaS.
In the cloud directory, okay. Yes, and
yep.
From Verify SaaS. So this means that my policy can now work, and next time when I go to Salesforce, I will enforce my policy, and the policy says you need to do some multi-factor authentication, and you can use IBM Verify. All right, good. Let's now, well, I think I can go directly here to my App Center again, and simply go to Salesforce.
Okay.
Right. So what's happening here, and I think it's important to understand the advantages of this. So I'm now going to Salesforce, right? It's going to redirect me to Verify, and at Verify we're going to do the multi-factor authentication. Now, of course, we're only showing Salesforce here. Imagine that you have 20 applications to integrate, or 50, or in the case of IBM, it's hundreds of internal applications also. So you don't have to bother about multi-factor authentication that is provided by each application. Salesforce on its own has its multi-factor authentication, but all the other applications also have. So what you get is a unified experience, in fact, for the user, because our solution is the MFA broker. In fact, it's doing the MFA
From a central place.
from one central place with one central app. So this
So now
is
you're
what,
going to Salesforce, right?
I was going to Salesforce, but it's going to redirect me. And since I was already logged in, right? You didn't see the login with the username password. It's prompting me for a multi-factor authentication. So let's make sure that you can also see the experience on the phone. So if I now choose one of these methods, and I'm going to choose the iPhone and the fingerprint approval.
You should get a message on the phone, right?
Should get a message on the phone. Still a bit.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. I'll click this. It's going to prompt if it's you, all right. Oh, I was already typing on this screen. Alrighty, so voila, I've
And now
now
you're in
accessed
Salesforce,
Salesforce again. I'm, of course, back here in Jenny Snow, but I provided strong multi-factor authentication. And as you can see, registration, the use, and so on, it's a matter of minutes, in fact.
Yeah. Once
Right.
you have set it up, you can use it for everything.
You can use it for every application, and yeah, you're safer.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
nice.
So this kind of concludes the things I wanted to show, Yves.
It's up to me now.
It's up to you
yeah,
now.
but I just had one question.
Okay.
Could you use also this Verify SaaS environment to, let's say, remote connections to authenticate to setting up remote connections, VPNs, and that kind of stuff?
VPNs and yes, indeed, yes, indeed. So we've shown Verify SaaS here in the context of web applications, but it's also valuable in the context of other things. And amongst other, we have this component, which is called the bridge for radius. And that's the one that we use to provide or to integrate with VPN servers. So meaning that if your employees need access via VPN solution, they're going to use their VPN client that they're used to. They're going to a VPN server that they're used to. But then the VPN server is integrated with our bridge component, and eventually the experience for the user is you will have to provide multi-factor authentication, for example, using the IBM Verify Authenticator app. So it's all then the same thing.
So it
same
completes
experience.
the workforce environment that typically used in companies, right?
Right. And we also provide similar bridges for Linux servers and for Windows servers, so that you can log on with the IBM Verify app or other multi-factor authentication.
That's maybe something interesting to show in upcoming webinar, maybe.
Yeah, right. We can have quite some. We have quite some things to tell about that too.
Lots of things to experiment with. Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay, so
onboarding a new
application.
custom application. So go ahead, Yves. What have you been cooking?
I've been cooking. Let's see. I'm going to show you my screen now. That's okay. So, like we have prepared, we will show you a bit how you can easily integrate this from a developer perspective. And then, you have prepared a developer account for me on your tenant, right?
Yeah. So Yves is now the developer and he's going to log on.
I'm using the same mailinator because if you're developing and want to send emails, that's just the easiest way. You don't need to bother about an SMTP gateway or anything.
Correct.
So let's log in. It was with the cloud directory,
Yeah,
right?
with the cloud directory.
That's not gonna work. Let's see. My user is still there?
Let me quickly check.
It's not. Something's wrong. Oh no, I mean, I don't know what. Maybe it was the wrong URL.
Yeah,
yeah,
likely.
okay.
Okay, no
We're
problem.
in, we're in.
Okay.
You see, I have the same app store, but Peter just added me to the group of developers within Verify SaaS, so I can launch the Verify developer portal. So typically, as a developer, unless I ask Peter to set up an environment for me or create an application. What did you?
Yeah. This is
Okay, yeah.
because when you
So we have a web application that is being developed in Vue.js. That should be better. So the web application will have its front end when we click on login. Of course, it will show you some products from an API, from a product catalog. Once we hit login, it will send an authentication to a Node.js application, which is running separately, which handles all the communication with Verify SaaS. So it will get the access tokens, the ID tokens, and eventually will set it back into the Node.js application, which can then have a redirect through the front-end API where we will send just the name of the user. That's a bit the scenario here.
okay.
So let's go to our Visual Studio. We have our Vue.js application. First of all, we will need to change the Node.js application where we have defined an environment. Let's see. We have
And there you have to copy the yeah.
the tenant URL is already filled in. Yeah. The client ID. I need to copy that one and put it over here. And then the secret. That should be it. Let's just save this one. You also see that we will do a redirect again to the main application and also with the login with token. Once we get the user ID or the username back, we just send it back to the application. Just have a quick look at the code. We're using the IBM Verify SDK. There's a specific SDK which you can just do npm install and use that one from IBM. It's a JavaScript SDK, so it's perfectly for this scenario. There's some config parameters that are being retrieved from the environment file, and there's some functions, the callback where we get the tokens back, a logout, and also the login is the first start of the process. You see, we'll log some information about what's happening, what's coming in, what's being sent back. Maybe we'll have a separate session for people that are interested in doing development. But this Node.js application handles all the communication with the Verify. Now, within the application itself, our Vue.js application, if you're not familiar with Vue.js, that's not a problem. It's all JavaScript. And we have an authentication store JS file which handles all the authentication. Here you see also the login URL, which we will trigger from the application, and the logout as well. We will store this user information in some variables within the application. And there's a main header bar on the application, which we're about to see soon. And when we click on login, this function is being executed, and what we'll do is, in fact, it will go to the auth store, retrieve the endpoint URL for login, and that's where all the magic happens. So we will need to start the Node.js server first to pick up the new credentials. That's the one. And I also have the application already running. Let's see. I can refresh it. And that's the main application.
So that's in fact the application that you've written, and you were looking for how am I going to get identity into this application, and this is where Verify SaaS comes in.
Yeah. So
And
if
that's your login button.
There's my login button and then the header bar. So if I log in, let's see what happens. I'm already logged in. That's because I was logged in the Verify here.
Yep.
He automatically had these credentials and he sent them back. You see also on the Node.js part, we have some logging that there's been communication with the Node.js. And we see an access token and a refresh token as well as an identity token.
Yeah.
Okay.
But don't forget, I still have to do some work.
This is my development environment. Okay. So as a developer now, I have everything I need.
Yeah. You got
I'm
it
ready
working.
to. You got it working. I can see that I'm able to authenticate against the Verify.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Except you can only use it.
I can only use it.
You
Now
can
it's
only-
time to prepare to have our Jenny Snow access this application, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's switch back to your screen now.
Yeah.
There you go.
There I go. So I'm on again. So I've already put this application over here, because the application as by self-service, by means of self-service, Eve has created it. It needs to be tuned a little bit, let's say, for a number of things. So let's start with entitlements.
Yeah, these are not things I can do in the development portal.
No, it's
Yeah.
clearly that you don't have that power yet. Developers have a lot of power, but not that. So by default, it's set up in a secure mode that it's only for select users and groups and so on. So I'm going to change this and simplify this, because all my employees need access to this self-service buy material application. So entitlements I will set to all users. When looking at the way, so per application, you can also determine in what way you can authenticate to the application. So this is what I'm also going to configure right here. And so there are a number of options here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow my two enterprise providers, namely the Cloud Directory itself and the Windows server, as the authentication or identity provider. Next, I can determine which attributes are being sent over to the application. So, and that's over. Just looking a bit here.
Attribute settings.
Send all known attributes in the ID token. So this is sending all the known user attributes of Jenny, in fact, towards the application. And I'm also going to, I can also customize that or add my own custom stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one here, Salesforce profile. This is one.
That's a custom attribute.
That's a custom attribute, and I'm going to map this to what's already set for Jenny over here in the Cloud Directory as by means of that name. Okay. What else can I tell here? There's you can have your own policy also. You could set multi-factor authentication on this application too if you want. We're not going to do this here, so we're going to use the default policy. There's a theme you can say, so you will see when you log in, you get this default login screens, logout screens, and so on. That's something that can be customized using our theming feature. And then, of course, you can do other things related to OpenID Connect, namely changing the token timeouts, for example, and so on. But let's no longer dwell. And I'm going to save the application. And now, in fact, the application is ready for Jenny, in fact, to log on to this new application.
Okay, so let's test this. So there we are again, with our application. I have my login button again. I've logged out. So now let's see what happens. So that will be
You should see the login to Win server here. This is a
Indeed,
bit
yeah.
strange. The application was updated though, which is strange. Maybe you have to close that browser or something. That's a bit. Why is it only showing that?
I should see the Win server option, right?
Yeah. No, here was wow. Save. Can you retry?
Let's see.
Are you showing your screen, by the way?
I'm showing my screen,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, I have it
Yeah.
here. Sign in with Win server. So that was
Yeah,
something.
I choose use default policy here, but apparently I had to choose allow access from all devices. Sorry for that.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I can sign in with Win server, and now I have
Jenny.snow.
Jenny.snow, right, like that.
Like that, yes. And the password is the one we always use.
I choose the same password as I have.
Yeah.
What a coincidence. No, it's not. No. There you go.
There you go. Okay.
Okay, so Jenny Snow is now logged in, and we see lots of things happening on our Node.js authentication. And as an example, I can show you what's in the ID token, right? So that
Okay.
contains all the magic attributes. And there is a website, jwt.io, which allows you to see what's in the encoded token. Let's paste it over here. And then we see the decoded token, Jenny, the tenant ID or a mobile number. What else is in there? Yeah, that's the
one we
custom
configured,
attribute,
yeah.
the Salesforce profile that
Right.
we added. So all these attributes are now being taken into this identity token, which can then be consumed by the application and do something useful with that or
Yep.
anything else. So
Okay.
this is just the beginning of development. Of course, you can also use the access token to maybe talk to a backend API, but it might
Yep.
be for another session. But the application has everything it needs, and it's authenticated, and I can go from there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, good. And this kind of concludes our 4 demos. Can you switch to my
Yeah.
desktop? Yeah. So, thank you, everyone. We're running out of time. I just wanted to repeat what we've done here. So we've done a lot. It's been a roller coaster, starting from an account in Active Directory, creating Cloud Directory accounts, Salesforce accounts, an account that can be used by a custom application by Eve. So we've done all this in, I think, in a pretty fast, eigenlijk, in an easy way. So thanks again for watching. If you want to do this by yourself, you can do so. You can sign up for a free trial of Verify SaaS. only takes less than 1 minute, in fact, to provide you with the software. And then you can start configuring these things yourself, integrating applications, connecting applications, user lifecycle provisioning, multi-factor authentication, and all the nice things that the solution offers. All right. Well, I think this is it. I thank you all again, and
if there are still any questions, we can still monitor them through the chat. I didn't see a lot of questions happening, but feel free to follow us on our user group and stay tuned for another session.
Yeah.